Welcome to our session. We're going to talk about transitioning to working from home, your questions answered. So we hope you brought a lot of questions this morning. My name is Shannon Weidemann, and I am known as Marketingelf. And if everybody would like to introduce themselves.
Sure, I'm Garcia, and I run the outsourced program management company, GTO Management.
I'm Debbie Carney, also known as Loxly, and my company is another outsourced affiliate managing company, Team Loxly.
Hi, my name is Scott Jangro, and I have a service called Shareist. Nice to be here.
So we're going to talk about a little bit about who works from home. So last year, Affiliate Summit did a study, and they found that 59% of people work from home in the affiliate marketing industry. So it's pretty much everybody. Does everybody here work from home, or show of hands?
Move it.
Does anybody work in an office? Does anybody do both? Okay, so we got everybody a little bit covered here. Great. So we're going to share our top 5 tips for working from home. So Scott, you want to go first?
Oh, okay.
She's just jumping right in.
Surprise.
We'll just go down to your side of the table. And
All 5?
Yes.
All right. So, not in any particular order, my 5 tips for working from home. First, I think we hear a lot about working from home is that you can work in your pajamas, and I don't believe in that. I believe in getting yourself dressed and getting yourself looking good. There was actually an article recently that I read that said that people who dress the part are more motivated. So I suggest that you actually get up, get showered, get dressed, and get yourself moving, especially if you're inclined to be unmotivated in the morning. Second thing, get out. Get out of the house. Make sure it's easy. For me, I've been working at home since 2004. I run a startup, I have a remote team, and I'm also the type of person who I could never leave the house and it would be totally fine with me, and never see a person and it would be totally fine with me. But I force myself to get out, go to a coffee shop, and that's an easy thing to do, or a library. But what I found is really great is to find a co-working space. Most cities have co-working spaces where other startups and small companies have people who are there working, so you can interact with other people who are in the same situation as you, and meet people, talk. An alternative to getting out is to have human contact online, get connected with people on social media, chat, your team, and just friends. Find yourself some people you can bounce ideas off all day long. It kind of replaces being in an office. As a tip, a lot of people use Basecamp and Campfire, but more and more I hear people using a tool called HipChat. So if you're working with a team and collaborating online, I found, nothing against 37 Signals, who also work from home as a remote team. That group, I think they're famous for it. HipChat is a great tool, HIP chat. Part of getting out is working out. One of the things that I've found that working from home has allowed me to do is really take the time for myself. I think if you've got a family and if you've got work, then taking time for yourself and getting into shape, or whatever it is you need to do for yourself, kind of goes to the back burner. I've made it a priority for the past several years to make sure that every day, I'm a cyclist. If you know me, you know that. And I make sure that I do that just about every single day and get out of the house and do that. And finally, I would say, and I'm kind of paraphrasing Gary Vaynerchuk here, which is to really know yourself. He talks about knowing your DNA and understanding who you are. And you may or may not be the type of person who can work from home and work alone. And really try to take a good hard look and be truthful to yourself, and make sure that working from home is right for you. It is for me. I'm not in the refrigerator all day long. I'm not doing chores around the house all day long. I can focus, but there are people who can't do that. So make sure you at least understand yourself. If it's you may or may not have a choice of working from home, but if you can think about how you are, you can help yourself succeed most working from home. I think that was 5, 6.
Maybe a bonus tip. Deb, do you have
Okay, so building on what Scott said, my top 5 tips are all about balance. So when you first start working from home, you're like, yay, cool, I can do whatever I want, and you might like do too much not working, or you might go the other way and you're like always working. Raise your hand if you're always working when you're working from home. Yeah. So one of the things that I'm trying to do, and one of the things that I think we all need to do, is we need to have more balance. So of course you need to make time for work. That's, how you make your living, to be able to do all the other things that you want to be able to do. But also you need to make time for family. And, so like work for a couple hours, take a break, if you've got little kids at home, take care, do whatever, your family's schedule, make sure that, you're like, oh, I can't take you to soccer practice because I scheduled a client call at that time. Like Scott said, know your DNA, figure out your schedule. Make time for your spouse, or your significant other, or yourself. So make time for your husband, wife, whatever. In addition to family time, make sure you've got time with them. And like Scott said, for fitness or for, get out of the house or whatever, make time for you. I've done a podcast with a bunch of work-at-home mom and dads, not necessarily just in the affiliate marketing space, and one of the best interviews I did was a woman who said, she takes care of her morning routine and does her work, and then every day, same time, I could never do this, by the way, but every day, same time, she leaves the house at a specific time, takes a walk to a park, and sits and just veggies for a half an hour, every single day. And then she comes back and she's focused and she can take care of things. One of the things that my partner Vinny brought up was make time for meals. How many of us are sitting and we're working and we work and we take the kids to do whatever we need to do, and all of a sudden it's it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you haven't had breakfast. So that goes on Scott's thing about do your morning routine just like you were going off and going to work. And another thing is make time for sleeping. We try to fit everything in and then we don't have any kind of sleep schedule. Make time to rest and have downtime and be able to sleep so that you can be refreshed and start over the next day. Those are my top tips.
Karen, what would yours be?
So when you're transitioning to that home office space that you've dreamed about and not living in a cube anymore, because let's face it, living in gray walls is no way to spend your day, make sure that you have a dedicated workspace. Whether that is an actual office space you have in your home, whether it is a table that you can put away somewhere. Don't make it your kitchen table if you can possibly find another space. Just because you need to be able to sometimes leave things for a little bit, but you can't let it run your life. So make sure that you have that space where you can close a door, where you can have some privacy, you can have some quiet, and you can actually focus without being distracted by all the other things in your home. Because let's face it, the TV can sometimes be distracting, or the laundry, or whatever. So set aside that space for yourself. I like to actually kind of schedule my entire week, and not down to the minute, oh, I got to do this on these days or whatever, but I take time for myself by setting aside my Wednesday. Wednesday is my day. It's my creative day. I do creative stuff for my clients, things like that, but I schedule no calls on Wednesday unless there's an absolute emergency. So I've dedicated that time, so I can take the time to be creative for my clients without having all the interruptions. So set a schedule for yourself for your whole week. The other thing I do is your to-do list. Find a to-do list that works for you, whether it's a piece of paper, whether it's something online, to keep track of your daily tasks that you need to get accomplished, things that you're working on for yourself, for a client. Find something that works. There's a lot of online services that you can utilize for that. I used to use something that it didn't quite work for myself and my husband, because we both work from home from the same office. and it just didn't quite work. And so I've actually gone back to doing a paper, it's a paper life hack that was on AppSumo a couple years ago, and it's amazing, and it works really, really great for me. But it may not work for you, so find something that will work with your general, way that you like to actually do your work, whether it's, a couple of days that you take off or whatever, but find something that works. Don't feel that you have to do something that your next door neighbor is doing or your friend told you about. Do that for yourself. It will save you so much time. Be okay with turning off occasionally. Turn off your email. Don't bother to check it. Sometimes I'll be on Skype, but it's off. So I'm not responding to chats or something for a good 2 hours or so, because I need to focus. Don't be afraid to turn things off. Sometimes turn off your computer. Sit down and just yes, turn off the computer, and just take that time to actually think about what you're doing. Do some goal planning that doesn't involve you being online with this little box. That's not the way we were designed to be. So, don't be afraid to step away from things, especially these. Because I can't tell you the number of times that you walk around and people are doing this, like at dinner. It's like there are people here to actually talk with. So you don't need to constantly be, checking your email every second, because it'll still be there, 3 minutes from now. And then finally, have a backup plan. Home offices are great, but sometimes the neighbor decides that today is the day I'm taking down the fence. So you need to have a backup plan for somewhere to go, whether, like Scott said, like the library or a coffee shop, or a friend that you can call and say, hey, I have this special call that's coming up this afternoon at 4. Can I come in and be at your kitchen for a while? So have that plan for a contingency. I know that you've had a lot of snow days. Where I live in California, we don't have those. But if you have snow days and you have small children, make a plan, because otherwise your whole day will be completely wiped out and you won't be productive at all. So,
good tips. So for me, how many people have kids at home? So I think it's kind of a myth as far as working from home that you can not have any sort of childcare and be there totally for your kids. The TV can become a huge babysitter, which is not always the best thing. So start off small. I hired a mother's helper when my daughter was really little, and it was just somebody that was a junior high student, and I didn't have to pay her as much as another babysitter because she was there when I was home. And she'd come over for a couple hours after she got out of school and played with my daughter, and it gave me a dedicated block of time to work on something. And then when she got older, she went to preschool, and that was my work time. Those were my work hours. So you really do need help. If you can't afford to hire somebody, switch times with a neighbor, that they watch your kid and then you watch their kids at the same time, have that going on a regular basis. That's one of my biggest tips, big myth. I was going to say, one of my biggest pet peeves is being at home, there's all kinds of distractions. So I always find that if there's dishes in the sink, it's always nagging at the back of my head, like, let's clean the dishes before I can focus on this. So I have a clean sink policy, so before I go to bed at night, I like to make sure all my dishes are either loaded in the dishwasher. So when I wake up in the morning, I have, I don't have that, hanging over my head that I have to get up and do the dishes before I can go and start working for the day. And I also like having small tasks that I can work on. So keep like a running list of things that only take like 20 or 30 minutes to do, which is about the same amount of time as like the washing machine is going to run. So throw in a load of towels, set your washing machine to run, and then you have that 30 minutes to work before the buzzer is going to go off to throw them in the dryer. I think they also call it the Pomodoro technique, where you set the time for a timer. Another thing is learning how to say no. People think because you're working from home, hey, you want to go to coffee, or hey, can you watch my kids, or oh, you don't really have a real job. So, learn how to say no, learn how to shut off your phone, turn off, your chat. That was my big thing with my parents. They'd be like, so what you doing, online, and I'd be like, working. Oh, so just learn how to say no to people and say, no, I'm really, working here and, dedicated to that. So that's That is a big, big deal. And yeah, I think that having someplace else to work outside of the home, I know we've kind of all said that, but you kind of got to get out. I mean, I'm a huge introvert, so I like my time at home, but even I like to go to Starbucks and be around other people, not so much talking to other people, but being around other people and, you know, kind of getting that energy and having someplace else to work from is very, very productive for me. So we would like to help you guys out. So we want to know what you want to know. What's your questions? We have years and years of experience of working from home. So if you have something, if you could step over to the microphone for the cameras to ask the questions, that would be great.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. I do have some questions though. Anyone?
Nobody has questions at all? I don't believe that for a second.
It was in the title of the session. Come with questions.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys. So what are your favorite tools for working from home?
We'll make Scott do that one. Scott's the tool guy.
I already mentioned one hip chat instead of using Campfire. I found it's been a great thing. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we do software development, so we've got a lot of tools that we and a team all over the world, and so we're constantly online, either in live chat and hip chat. We used to use Basecamp. We use our own product, Shareist, now for collaborating and working together as a team on content and on our development efforts, and that's. That and the social media tools that I use to keep in touch with the people that I work with all the time. Those are really primarily what I work in.
One of the things I would like to ask you is what do you she mentioned a to-do list. Karen mentioned using a to-do list. Do you use a paper system? Do you have an online system? Do you use HipChat for that?
It's all up here.
Oh, that's dangerous.
You're not like me with 50 Post-it notes.
I have bought. I'm an app addict, and I've bought just about every app there is to get organized, and I never use them. So it's just me. I'll write stuff down on paper. It's really the most successful thing that I do.
One of the tools that we use, because we manage about 20 different Twitter accounts, social media accounts for clients, we actually use something called Hootsuite. It's inexpensive. You can have a team. It's a great tool. It works not just with Twitter, but with Facebook, LinkedIn, a whole bunch of other things. So we use that. And Google+, yes. Everything but Pinterest, because they don't have an API yet.
And Instagram.
One thing at a time. But yeah, we really like Hootsuite. And then there was one other tool, but then I lost it. So I'll have to come back to that. I'm trying to remember. Oh, I remember. It's something called Pigeon, and you can actually PIDGIN, and it combines a whole bunch of different chat apps. So you don't have to log into a whole bunch of different things. You just log in once and it saves it all. So it keeps all your contacts in one spot.
I have a couple tools that I really like. Oh, we have a question. Okay, go ahead.
It's not so much a question, but when I came to Shannon and Karen's panel in Philadelphia, Karen had suggested her idea of the paper thing. Can you explain that? Because I've adapted that and I thought it was a great
Sure.
idea.
Okay, so here's my piece of paper. I know this is hard to see, so I can explain it afterwards if someone's come up. So you start by writing the date at the top, right? And you actually keep these. I keep these in a notebook. I hole punch them afterwards. And then down the side, I write a little box. And in this little box go all my appointments for the day. If I've got phone calls, if I have something scheduled that I need to have a report to somebody by a certain time, I put it here. And then down the side here I just block it off with 2 lines because I use lined paper for this. I write an hour, right? So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so in this box, this is where you get to be honest with yourself. What did you do for this hour, right? And over here is where you write all the things you have to do for the day, right? So you just write, all right, well, I have to send a report to a client. I've got to do a bunch of creatives for a different one. I've got a call, all these different things you write down here. And then as you do them, you get to scribble them off, which is the best part, because then it's done. But you have to put it over here and say, that, all right, this is what I did for this hour. If you waste your time on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, if you get distracted because there's a really, really cool thing that's going on Pinterest, you have to put it here. At the end of the day, at the bottom, you write how you felt about the day. I felt like I got a lot done, or I wasted a lot of time today because I got sucked into a news site, and this just kind of keeps you honest with yourself about what your day is like, because you don't have a boss except for yourself. So this is now the person that is breathing down your neck, and it's excellent.
And I want to say I adapted that because I'm lazy. I didn't want to come up with these papers. So after your event in October was back to school time, I went and bought a school planner that already there's a page for every single day, and there's an hour, and I have all my meetings listed. I have
That's
all my
perfect.
to-do things, and I scribbled it out. So I thank you, because that was
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And then the other thing is, if you discover that your list is super long and you're feeling incredibly overwhelmed, there's this awesome little hack. It's super easy. You take a piece of tape and another piece of paper, and you tape over it. And that's all you work on. It's just that first thing on the list. I mean, this is like super simple, and it's incredibly effective. So there's if you go to AppSumo, you might have to search for, I cannot remember the name of the guy, but it's an AppSumo video that they did about 2 years ago, and it's awesome. I love it.
We have another question coming up.
I get distracted very easily. How do you guys deal with distractions with all the stuff going on around you?
I suffer from ooh bright shiny.
Yes, so do I.
A lot.
Yeah.
And for me, it's shutting things off, making sure that I set aside that time to screw around, to go and check out what Shannon's put on Pinterest, or what's going on in my friends' lives on Facebook or whatever. But for me, it was clearing the clutter off my desk helped immensely, because you just kind of accumulate. You end up with some toys from your kids and some extra papers and a book and just stuff. And for me, cleaning my desk off completely and then moving things out of my peripheral vision helped a ton. And then take the time to get up. So don't sit at your desk for 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours at a time. Get out of your chair. Go do something else for 15 minutes. Go something that you're passionate about, that you enjoy. Go do it, because it actually helps focus you much better when you're back at your desk.
Yeah, I was going to say that, if you think you're going to spend 2 hours on something, you're going to get distracted, because you're going to be like, okay, I got it started, but, oh, look, Facebook, somebody just posted a really cool picture, or, Scott just cycled to the top of a mountain, and,
Again.
Again, and wow, how did he do that? And, oh, Karen just did something cool on Pinterest. But if you say, okay, I'm going to work on this for 20 minutes and see how well I do, and then I'll go over and, close the tab, or so I'll use Firefox for certain things and Chrome for other things, so that the tabs that I'm working on are in front of me. And this group of tabs is for this task, and I have to do this right now, and I might have to refer to my email, but I'm not going to click on any other tabs, and I'm not going to click on Firefox, and I'm going to wait until, but I can't do that for 2-3 hours. You just give yourself little blocks of time, especially if you're working a day job and you're working from home on your affiliate business, like in the evening. You need to give yourself blocks of time, or else you're just going to get overwhelmed and distracted, and you're going to lose your night.
Mm-hmm. I live in chaos, and my days aren't my own. You're running a business, and support questions come in, and that's just constantly going, and they can't be ignored when they do. Mm-hmm. But I play games with myself, to force myself to take time to really focus on things. I'll get up and go work somewhere else in the house, not even outside. I'll go sit in my daughter's room and sit at her desk, and that change of scenery just helps me focus. Shannon mentioned, Deb mentioned the blocks of time, and Shannon mentioned something called the Pomodoro technique, which is a great time management tool. The idea is that a Pomodoro is Italian for tomato, and it's basically an egg timer that Italian grandmas had, and that's where the name came from. And it's basically, seriously, just take a timer, set it for 30 minutes, and go. Mm-hmm. And by forcing yourself to do that, you can just get and set a rule. This is what I'm going to work on for this half hour. It's not 4 hours. It's just 30 minutes, and you can do that. And if you can commit to that, it's easy to get some stuff done without being distracted.
And it gives you permission to take a break, because you felt like you were productive for a specific amount of time, and then you can go do something else.
I'm a big fan of headphones, so listening to music is helpful, but sometimes I find I put the headphones in and I don't actually play the music and it'll be 20 minutes later and I've been working, but I'm like, oh, I never even like turned the music on. I don't know, there's something about that, but I find music very, very helpful for shutting things out, and you can't really hear the stuff going around you and stuff, and that really helps a lot. So we have another question?
Yeah, so I was going to say, first off, Scott, on the getting up and getting dressed, just to kind of add to that, your spouse really appreciates that too. I find that my husband's a lot more tolerant of stuff being a mess around the house if I'm not wearing the same shirt that I was 2 days ago. So just a little ad lib there. And then my other question would be, so I'm curious what you guys use as far as motivation. Anybody that works from home knows that some days you get up and you're like, like Katy Perry's Roar song, and like you're going to take over the world. And other days you get up and you're just like, ugh, what's on Maury? So like I use like it's referred to, it sounds so cheesy, but like a dream board where I've got all the stuff that I want, all the stuff that all the work that I'm doing is going to buy me, or pictures of my kids, to remember why it is that I'm working. So I'm just curious what you guys use to remind yourself of why you're working from home every day and how you stay motivated.
Well, I'll go ahead and start then. It's the same type of thing. I have a goal board. It's actually above my computer monitor, so I see it. It's just over the edge against the wall. I've got a shelf and my monitor, and it's like right there. And I've got a couple pictures of things that as a family that we're working towards. So we've got a couple of trips that we'd like to take, things like that. So that's motivating. But there are days where you wake up and you're like, oh my God, shoot me now. And for that, I actually, I've put together a couple of playlists for myself. So going along with Shannon, and the headphones, that it's just things that, and it's not the motivational whatever, but it's music that gets me going. And it's not always stuff that everyone would admit to ever listening to. It has a lot of Taylor Swift, but it's things that that just get me moving. And so finding something that works for you is so important. And then the other thing is just when I take time to actually sit down, because my husband is my business partner, and come up with those goals for ourselves, that is really motivating as well, because then I feel like I'm not doing it by myself. Because it's so easy. I mean, we sit back to back, and sometimes we won't talk for most of the day, and it can feel really isolating. So taking that time for us has really helped. So
I'm kind of the opposite of Karen in the whole, have a separate office. I actually tried it. I don't like it. When my kids were growing up and I was working from home, they were special needs kids, and I needed to be in the middle of the house. I needed to be where I could see what was going on. So my goals, the way I got my goals going are, first of all, like Vinny and I, we share an office space, house, whatever you want to call it, and we're like, we can see each other. So if one of us isn't motivated, we can look at the other and, start a conversation about what to do. The other thing is, like, I've got pictures of my kids, and I have, one of the things that really helps me get motivated is if I'm having a day that I don't feel like I'm going to accomplish anything. Do something gives you an immediate satisfaction. If I send an email to a specific email list, I get feedback. I'll just send out an email newsletter with a question, and the people that are on that newsletter list will email me back and answer the question or do whatever I've asked them to do, and all of a sudden, oh, this is why I'm doing this. Okay, cool. I'll work on this now. And it gets me motivated. And I have music, listen to music to keep me going.
I also listen to Taylor Swift.
I do not listen to Taylor Swift.
I don't have trouble getting motivated because there's so much going on with the team, but I do have trouble focusing on the right things sometimes and making sure that I'm focusing on what's important rather than what's urgent, to go down the GTD kind of lingo there, so I make sure that I take a step back and focus on what's really important to get done. Otherwise, the day just can disappear in all the small fires that happen constantly. And I think it's important to have someone, always have someone to talk to and get help. If you've got somebody that can help you get motivated when you're down, just get on the phone or get on chat with that person, and that can help.
Yeah, having feedback from another person is important. I'm part of a couple mastermind groups, and that's nice to be able to bounce an idea off of somebody that, maybe is in a slightly related business but isn't a competitor, and you can say, all right, this is I'm stuck, and just insight from a third party is sometimes incredibly helpful.
We have another question.
Yes, and mine's a little bit different. I'm struggling with knowing when to quit my full-time job, which is very good right now. I carry the benefits and all that stuff. So can you tell me, I know it's different for everyone, but maybe what the determining factor was for you guys?
Sure. Mine was that we had our third kid, and I was not seeing my children. And for me, it was driving me nuts. I would leave in the morning. I had an hour-and-a-half commute, or work a job that I initially had loved, and my office space was finally at the point where we were having meetings about how many meetings we were having. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then I'd have my hour-and-a-half commute home, and when I left in the morning, my kids were just getting out of bed, and when I came home at night, they were getting ready for bed. And I was like, this is not the way I want to spend my life. So, part of taking that step off the cliff is incredibly scary, especially when you're looking at all the things that you have to take care of when you are working from home. Do you have insurance? What's your budget? So make sure you take a look at your financial situation. Make sure that you're going to be okay. Set something aside in savings, that you've got that buffer, that if things don't quite work the first month, you're not going to be in serious trouble. So I would definitely recommend those things for first steps.
Kind of like set a goal of, have a cushion that you're comfortable with, and put that in the bank so that, you have that to fall back on.
And if you're already doing, part-time as, in the affiliate space, make sure that the money that's coming in, you're seeing enough that you can make it on the budget that you've set for yourself. Because from there, you can work on growth. But you don't want to not have it, coming in to keep up your bills and things like that.
Two things. One, like she said, make sure you've got money coming in. Look at what you're doing from home and what you're doing at work. And while you're at work, are you thinking about the things you could be doing that could make you more money? So you need to have that. You need to know that if you step back from working a full-time job, that you can actually be doing things to increase your income. Second thing, make the leap. Whether you've got a cushion or not, make the leap. Because if you are waiting to get to X number of dollars, you're never going to quit. Yeah. You have to have the faith in yourself to be able to just say, it's time, I can make this work. If you don't think you can make it work, you're not ready. Don't do it yet. But if you're like, if I can put an extra 4 hours a day into what I'm doing that's already making me some money, and I can double what I'm making, then you're ready. Just do the jump. Maybe you have a job you can take a leave of absence from, or you can do temp work, or, you have other backup plans. But until you actually say, I'm dedicating myself to this and making the commitment, you need to just go do it.
It's just like switching, from working from one company to working for another. It's that same, decision-making process, but instead of working for another company, you're now your own boss. So, which is awesome.
And it's like Scott said, for some people, they can do it, and some people can't. Some people have to work in an office because that's how they're built. Right. They need to have a boss. They need to have coworkers. They can't, they're not, I think to some extent, those of us that work at home are kind of introverted, and we like spending time with ourselves. We'd rather be with our online friends rather than sitting in an office with the people that we used to work with, and I've done the corporate route a couple times and not doing it ever again.
Thank you.
Sure. Something else? Okay.
So I just have, as you guys are talking, and anybody who doesn't know me, they all know, I've been working from home for 15 years. So, but as you guys are talking, it's making me realize things from back in the day that when I first started doing it, and you had mentioned a mastermind group, and I know First off, I don't think a lot of people even, you hear that and it sounds so official, like there's a website for the mastermind group. And like 15 years ago, me and Shannon and a few other girls used to go into a chat room every Thursday night at like, what was it, like 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, it was Wednesday nights, and it started like at 10, and it would be 1 or 2 in the morning. And
and like, so like that to me, like when I hear mastermind group, and it was kind of, we kept each other motivated. So I was wondering, one, could you explain what a mastermind group is, and two, how would somebody find one?
Sure. So a mastermind group is essentially, it's a group of people that you trust, and they trust you back. That's part of the exchange there, that you can discuss your business with and be incredibly open and honest with. So for me, there's a couple different ones I'm involved in. There's one that's a purely online Facebook group with several of the folks that are actually in the room, as well as one that is, we have a phone call every other week, and as well as email exchanges. And essentially, it's just a group of people talking about work. So whether it's it's the equivalent of a water cooler or having one of those meetings. It's just super helpful because you're not reinventing the wheel all the time. And we used to have these phone calls, 15 years ago when Sean worked for Club Mom and we all worked so in disparate different industries, and there wasn't a conference and there wasn't any training and there weren't any ebooks and there was nothing online about affiliate marketing at all. And so Sean was the only one who happened to have a conference line, so we'd all call into the Club Mom conference line and we'd talk for 3 hours about, well, this is what I tried and it didn't work, or hey, I'm using this banner size now and it's working really well. So it was that infancy type of thing that really helped us all to become better at what we did in the affiliate space, and help us grow as managers and help us grow our programs. So I would definitely reach out to people that you trust online, if even just friends. I mean, I'm friends with so many people in this room that are amazing people, and everyone has a different insight and everyone has a different perspective, and their perspective on what you're doing can help so much, because sometimes you get too close to what you're doing, and having somebody else look at it and go, wow, that's really amazing, is really helping, and then they can look at something and, that's just not a good idea. And they can point out something that you didn't see coming, and that can really save you tons of time.
And the other thing a mastermind group does for you is it helps you to be accountable. Like you don't have to, like some groups are stricter than others where, okay, you have goals that you have to accomplish by next week call. And you make them reasonable goals, but it's also just, like what did you do last week? And when you think about the fact that, you've got all the things that you're doing, but you got all these fires that you had to put out for customer service and all this stuff, and you didn't do the other goals that maybe you had set for yourself, and it gives you a way to come back to those, because the people on your mastermind group are going to say, did you work on this last week? Oh, okay. And then you have a group of people who understand that you can talk to about why you didn't accomplish those goals and how maybe you can do something a little differently to get those done the next week or before the next call.
And there are a lot of them. I think if mastermind groups tend to be kind of secret, so I think people don't talk about them. Part of it is confidentiality and trust and privacy, and I think people tend not to talk about, it's like Fight Club. But I think we're all in them, and I've been in ones that are just friends, I've been in ones that are one person, I've been in ones that I've paid thousands of dollars a year to be in, and they have conferences and that sort of thing. So there are different kinds of mastermind groups at different levels, and I think if you just start talking to people about it, you'll find that they exist, and there may be ones that you can get in on or start. So it can be really informal, a couple people on chat all the time, or email groups. There are lots of different ways to do a mastermind group, and it's a way to. There's friends, mastermind groups who are friends, but it's also a great way to meet other people, meet other people who are running businesses, people who are working from home. The things the different things that we all have in common with each other.
Well, Affiliate Summit's a great place to meet people. I mean, here you are. Go out and network right now and find people that you can kind of make a connection with. Some of my best friends I've met at Affiliate Summit, that I completely trust with talking about my business. And yeah, everybody said it's a great way to be held accountable. Have a weekly phone call and say, okay, well, these are my goals for the week, and check in on Friday and say, hey, did you actually get it done? So that's definitely very, very helpful.
And especially when you're working by yourself, you know, like you're all by yourself, and like Karen said, you need a different perspective. You know, you throw an idea out there you think is going to be the next best Shareist, you know, the next best thing, and you're like, I want to do this, and this, and then somebody can say, well, first of all, did you know he's already doing it? And you might not know about it. And the second thing is, they're like, you know, did you consider the fact that you need A, B, C, and D if you're going to do this? And you're like, oh, I didn't want to have to do this. You know, I just wanted to do this. And, you know, you can work through and maybe find a different thing other than your original plan.
There's and I think it's available on YouTube now. A couple years ago, Eric Nagel, Tricia Meyer, and Todd Farmer spoke at Affiliate Summit about creating a mastermind group, and you can find it on YouTube on the Affiliate Summit channel. And they really do go through step by step about, you know, what their process is, you know, how they found each other, that it's very important to find people that maybe don't have the same expertise as you do. So you can bounce things off of those people. You might have somebody that's good at, you know, pay-per-click, and you're good at writing content, or, you know, whatever it is, but find people that might not have the same strengths as you do, so that you can build off of your weaknesses.
I have a Facebook group for authors that is just a small group, and these people started talking to each other, and the next thing you know, they have their own little mastermind group, and they're working on projects. You know, that's another thing. If you find people that you can work on projects together, and like, you know, this person's an editor, so they're editing the book that these people are putting together, and these guys write this and these write that, and the next thing you know, you've got people that are not only bouncing ideas off each other and sharing marketing tips and sharing other ideas, but they're putting together a project, and it's going to be a project that's going to be beneficial for everybody.
Okay, so I have another question, if nobody else has one right now. Anyone? Okay. So I find that because I am the work-at-home spouse and my husband has an outside of the house job, that the burden of housework and things fall on me. I don't know if you guys have any tips, or, you know, how do you deal with that, or how does it work in your house?
As we all look at Scott.
Well, we both are in the situation where our spouses or whatever, we all work at home together, so.
But you still must have, you know.
Oh, yeah, we have a process. So.
No, it's an issue, and I think there's an issue with resentment. You know, when you're, you know, with your spouse and friends, you know, you're working from home, and they're jealous of that, and I think that's important to actually, you know, I think it's real, and it's a pretty good gig, and, you know, I can do things whenever I want, and so I try to recognize that and do the dishes, and it's easy to say, I'm working, you know, you're working, I'm working, so the dishes just sit, but, you know, I can make time to do that stuff, and I try to, and yeah, I think that makes it easier when these things don't get done, if they do get done sometimes.
Right. We actually, with 3 kids and both of us working from home, that can be an issue, because we're both working, and, well, then stuff never gets done, and that's bad. So we've actually, we came across something called, and Shannon and I have discussed this, it's something called app. Fly Lady, and it's an app, but it can be kind of a little hokey, it's a little purple fairy, but in any case, it's an email, and you get an email every morning, and it gives you a list of things that you're doing for the day, and some of it is getting up and getting dressed to shoes, so make sure that you've actually taken care of yourself, and little things like, hey, don't forget you need to make the bed, don't forget you need to, you know, clean your sink, you know, clean your dishes, and then we do something in the morning called reboot. So we reboot everything that's in the house. So, you know, as we're turning our computers on, I'm making the coffee, you know, the dishes that are in the dishwasher that was run the previous night get put away, and then if there's anything from the breakfast, it goes in the dishwasher. You know, we restart the laundry, and it just, you know, we just do a load. When you get up from the computers at lunchtime, we reboot it again. And so with 3 kids, and they're all active in sports and scouts and all that stuff, it's like Mount Washmore. Oh, it just never ends. So you have to stay on top of it, because otherwise you're folding like 12 loads of laundry on a Saturday night, and that's lame. So, because then you don't have time to actually go out and spend time with other adults. adults rather than your small adults that think they rule the house. So, come up with a process where it doesn't interrupt what you're doing, and, you have to have buy-in with your spouse. So don't, like Scott said, that resentment, it's real. You can't discount somebody else's feelings, because, whether or not they're correct from your perspective, their feelings have validity. So if you're finding that you guys are arguing over housework or little things that aren't getting done, then come up with a plan and do it together, because that saves everyone time. When we had super little kids and I was working out of the office and he was working from home, that was a big issue because things weren't happening, and so we came up with a process where he was doing the dishes and I was doing the laundry, and it worked pretty well for a couple years until we had kid number 3, and then we had to change things. So, just find something that's going to work for your family and stick to it.
Karen tipped me off to this app called Cozy,
Yes.
Which is fabulous. It's this app that you can share like shopping lists and to-do lists with your spouse, or schedules, calendars, and stuff like that. And it's great because, we'd always get, my husband would be like, oh, you didn't pick up, this from the store. And I'm like, well, did you write it on the shopping list? And he's like, well, no. So we found an app that, he can add things to, I can add things to, and I can, be the one that goes shopping, or he can, I'm like, hey, if you're on your way home, can you stop at the store and pick up these things, and the list is updated. Having a shared calendar with your spouse is really helpful. And you can do that in Google, you can do it in Cozy, there's so many different ways to do it. But yeah, my husband would be like, so what day was dance class again? And now, I know that I have to take that time and actually set up the calendar with the whole schedule for the family so that he knows what's going on. So that's really helpful too, as far as division of labor.
Well, and Cozy actually ties in with the Fly Lady information, because not only does the email from Fly Lady actually give you like the tasks that you're doing in the morning, but it gives you, like overarching things, right? So like if you need to like do a deep clean on your kitchen, you're not trying to like bust yourself trying to do it all like the day before you've got like 40 people showing up for Easter. It's an overtime thing. It makes it so much simpler, and it goes right into the calendar. So my husband and I, we both know what's going on and what needs to happen, and then because it's free, you can actually add more family members. So our daughter, who is 13, she has access to it now. She knows what her schedule is, and it keeps her accountable, and she's much more organized than I was at 13, and that's amazing.
Pretty much with us, for the longest time, it's just been the two of us. So like, if you make breakfast, you do the dishes, and if there's laundry, you throw it in the washing machine and you run it. But we've added a teenager to the household, and it gets a little more challenging, where you have to make sure that they know that they have to help, and if there's a sink full of dishes, or there's dirty litter boxes, or, different things, that everybody has things that they need to do. And if you don't do it, there's consequences.
Right. Well, and one of the consequences is that it's distracting from work.
Right.
And it makes you less productive. So.
And I think it's okay to get help too. Just because you are at home, hire a housekeeper. So that can be a really outsource. Find the things that you don't like to do and have somebody else do it. If you hate cutting your grass, hire somebody to do it for you. I mean, that's a lot of time that it takes. That you can be making more money doing it than what it pays. What it costs to pay them to do it for you.
And don't feel like it necessarily has to be a monetary outlay either. We have some great friends that she actually is an amazing pianist, and she's been teaching our kids piano, and in exchange we babysit their kids so they can go out on dates. So there is a barter system. So don't feel like, especially if you're starting out, cash flow can be kind of tight when you make that leap. So don't feel like if you need the time for somebody else to help you with something, don't feel afraid to trade what you have for essentially free.
Or actually make some of the tasks be together time. Like, okay, the sink is full of dishes, and we've both had stressful days, and all right, let's wash and dry dishes together. Does anybody ever remember doing that as a family? Like when you actually sit down and you cook a meal together, or you do the dishes together and you clean up together, it's like, it's actually relaxing, because it's not like you have to do this. you know, or it's your wife's turn to do this, or you have to do that, and you're like, let's just do these things together and make it a fun thing.
Good, right. Anybody else have
Everybody
any
thinks I'm
questions?
crazy.
Yeah. No. Do we have about 10 minutes if anybody has any questions?
Now's the time.
Yeah. I think it's also about, setting priorities. Why are you working from home? I know I started working from home, one, because I didn't really want to work for anybody else. Did not like going to an office. I'm not a morning person, so getting out the door and going into work and, working for somebody else was not my cup of tea. And then, I wanted to be there for my daughter. I wanted to be home. I wanted to be able to be there when she goes to school in the morning. I wanted to be there when she came home. I want to be able to take her to things like dance class. What is it? And, when she was younger, I would sign her up for things like dance class, and I'd be like, 30 minutes, I get to work. And then, now that, she's older, I'm like, no, it's 30 minutes to actually sit there and watch her dance. That's important to me. I'm her mom, so don't feel bad. Don't always feel like just because you scheduled your child into something or you scheduled something, that you have to use it as work time. Be there for your family if that's what your priority is, so.
Good. Oh, we have a question.
Oh, okay, great.
I was wondering, would you say that working from home on a daily basis is less productive than working in an office, doing the same things from an office?
No. You're way more productive when you're your own boss, because if you don't get this done, you can't go do this. Like you can maybe be distracted and, let yourself do whatever you want for like 3 days when you first start working from home. And then all of a sudden you're not making money. So if you're the one who's making money by working from home, you're going to get your things done. They're going to make sure that you can pay your mortgage, eat, do what you want to do. You're in charge. So if you slack off, you don't make money. So you're going to be way more productive and use your time way better.
Again, it comes back to who you are and what motivates you and what environment you work better in. And some people just are more productive in an office, and some are more productive at home. And sometimes it just has to switch up. So things are different. So, just pay attention to yourself and your habits, and set yourself up to be more productive wherever that is.
Well, and like Karen said, if you're in a corporate situation or an office situation, and when I was in a corporate situation, like if you're meetings on meetings on meetings, you're not going to be productive on your own to-do list. So if you don't have to have those meetings, you're getting your stuff done.
I always found working in an office to have its own, set of time wasters. My last office job, we had a full cafeteria there, so you'd get in the morning and you'd go down and get breakfast, and it was a long walk. So, it would take like an hour to get going on actual work in the morning, and then there'd be going out to lunch and chatting with people and stuff. So, you don't really have that distractions. Your work time is your work time when you're working from home, and I find, those hours that I spend working are very productive rather than, goofing off.
Right.
So
and just be mindful of because like we've said, take the time for yourself, take a little time to goof off and things, but be mindful of how much time you're spending and on what. Because if you spend 2 hours every day Facebooking, that's like a whole month out of your year, and that's just awful. Because think of that, what can you accomplish in a month? A lot. So just be mindful of where you're spending that time. I found that my productivity from switching from being in an office to working from home just skyrocketed, because when I was in an office situation, it's the constant interruptions of people coming and asking questions. The collaboration is great, but when it's just interruptive to shoot the breeze, it's a complete waste of time. So.
Do we have any other questions?
Any other questions?
We have about time for one more. Okay, so does anybody have any final thoughts? One last bonus tip to share with everybody in the audience. Any thoughts that have come from the
You guys
panel?
always look at me for the
Yeah, I know. You got to you're at the end of the table.
So you start and we
Tell
go
us,
across.
guys.
Yeah. Tell us, how do you feel about that?
No, I'll just say it was, I came from a corporate world, startup companies and working for other people, and I had a great job, but I always wanted to be my own, do my own thing, and And just making, what Deb said, I think earlier, was just making the leap was the biggest thing for me, best decision ever that I ever made. And, I think that for me, things always work out. And, you just make things happen and, think about the worst case scenario, which is just getting a job again. So.
That's a really good motivator. If you're home and you're slacking off and you're not making as much money as you want and you're like not being productive and things are distracting you and all of a sudden you look at your bottom line and you're like, I have to go out and get a job. I think I'm going to work a little harder.
Yeah, I'd say, there's a lot of resources out there. So if you find something is a pain point for you and you're working from home or trying to make that leap, go and search for it. Ask anybody, that's up here, ask anybody, there's several people in the room that have been working for a very long time from home. And there are just little things, that make life easier, like crock pots, things like that, that are, you wouldn't really think about on your day-to-day life, but that can really make a difference. So just ask for help if you find yourself in a situation where it's just not quite working in some regard. Because there are a lot of resources available, and find folks that have done it for a while and have them kind of mentor you, because that's also very helpful.
I think my tip is just to have fun. Find something that is really important to you and do it. Whether it be having a hobby like cycling or writing a book or finding some sort of charitable event that, something that's really near and dear to your heart that, you can go out and really focus on. So.
One last thing that I think I want to point out is that, working from home doesn't always have to be just being an internet marketer. Working from home, like, I was a wedding photographer for 30 years while my kids were growing up and while I was married and all this, and that's a work from home job. And, so whatever you're doing, you might be able to switch it to a work from home job, even if you're not, it's not an internet-based job.
Okay, so I think we might be done. I put up all our contact information, so please feel free to either, tweet us or, email us if you have any questions, later on. We'll be here to answer questions and make sure you fill out your feedback form. I think if you put your name on it, you could win a networking pass to a future affiliate summit, which is really great. So, but thank you all for showing up and coming and having your questions, and we really appreciate it.